Hello, and welcome to week 3 of both Ceramics and Ceramics 2. So last week we talked about the big ideas that are going to be driving our projects in this class, and then we experimented with ways to decorate paper, like marbling and texture rubbing and other ways of drawing, etc. Now this week we are going to be talking about origami, and we're going to be actually using the paper that we made in order to make things. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited to get some more sculptural time in. So before we get started on actually making, I wanted to give you a little bit of a historical cultural background, and then we're also going to talk about some visual considerations to pay attention to or think about when making your projects. I would like you, if you don't have something to write with, to pause the video now, get a piece of paper, or if you want to put the video off to the side and bring out a Google Doc to type on, that's fine. I'm going to ask you to turn in your notes from this video into Google Classroom. All right, are we ready? Let's begin. So origami is pretty much a household name nowadays. It comes from the words oru and kami in Japanese, which means to fold paper loosely. Paper was first invented in China around 105 AD, also known as CE or Common Era. Okay, so about 2,000 years ago, roughly. And paper was first introduced to Japan in the 6th century CE, also that's around 500. Okay, so during this time, the practice of paper folding emerged as a ceremonial Shinto ritual. And that kind of makes sense if you think about it. Nowadays, we can get paper pretty easily, like it's easy to make and then to access, so it's cheap. So we kind of take it for granted. But when paper was first developed, it was probably really expensive and really incredible to see something so thin and transparent and able to be made into such beautiful things. Okay, so there are examples of paper folding across the world in various cultures. Okay, specifically I can think of some that emerged in Spain as well. But usually when we think of the art of paper folding, we think of origami, which originated in Japan or became famous through Japan. Paper folding began being made in around the 500 CE, but it wasn't until Japan's Edo period, between 16 and 1800, that origami would be viewed as a leisurely activity and art form. This means that more people had access to it, and it became kind of like a common hobby or pastime. All right, kami, meaning paper, also means God in Japanese. So there's some back and forth about etymology, which means like the development of words around this. But my understanding is that in the Shinto religion, they don't necessarily believe in one all-powerful God. They believe in lots of little spirits, more like, that embody different elements and objects. And the art of making, they started by making paper representations of those spirits. So in a way, the paper beat was kind of like creating the gods. That's my understanding. But in general, origami, the art of paper folding. Right. Now, let's go on to the next one. I always go the wrong way. There we go. So origami patterns were traditionally passed down from word of mouth. So essentially someone shows you how to do it one-on-one. So it wasn't really widespread. It was kind of passed down through families. But it became really popularized and well-known in the Western world, in Europe specifically, through a man named Frederick Froebel. Froebel, it's a funny word. Okay, he was the guy who invented kindergarten. Right? So who'd have thought that someone had to make or invent kindergarten, but he did, and he was German. And basically, his philosophical belief or pedagogy, okay, teaching philosophy, was that with young children, you should focus on fine motor skills, like crafts, okay, and like using little beans to count things. And he made these little patterns. They almost look like quilts. So the art of paper folding became common knowledge throughout Europe after kindergarten kind of caught on. Okay, and we have kindergarten here in the U.S. because essentially everyone, when you were a little kid, when you were 5, learned how to paper fold. So it became a part of our collective experience, and thus we appropriated it into our culture as well from Japan. Okay, so nowadays People have taken origami and paper folding beyond the art of taking one square and turning it into something without cutting it. Okay, we have artists, I always go the wrong way, making really exceptional things, okay, out of paper. We can make huge things. We can make things that are very geometrically complex. This is an artist right here above my head who uses tissue papers in order to make these gorgeous, really realistic flowers, okay? Also, with technology, we're able to print patterns on the paper and cut them into really intricate designs. So this one right here is an example of something called wet folding, where you have to have thick paper and then you dampen it so you're able to bend it into a more organic shape as opposed to a strict fold. Okay? So I just like to think about what artists are making today as we're starting this project. So even though making little shapes, okay, starts out as a project you do in kindergarten, as we talked about in the Big Ideas video, it's up to you as an artist to continue to develop these ideas into more complex and sophisticated works of art. Okay, how are you going to take this simple form and make it into something exciting? So that's a little bit of historic background, right? If you needed to pause at any point to write any notes down about that, please do. But going forward, now I want to talk about the two big ideas that relate to composition. Now, if you remember from the Big Ideas video, composition refers to making something visually interesting. These are the elements of art, okay? So unfortunately, my face is in the, ooh, haha, look at me go. I'm going over here now. Cool. Okay, so shape is the first one that we're going to talk about. We already talked about it once. Shape refers to an enclosed two-dimensional space, okay? Shapes can be geometric or organic. The big idea with a shape is that it's flat. So origami is the art of taking a flat shape and turning it into a three-dimensional thing by folding, okay? There you go. Maybe we can make it into a tube. Now it's three-dimensional, but it starts out as flat. We refer to geometric shapes as shapes essentially that have names. They're usually more straight edge. They usually are things that you would find in geometry, okay? So circles, triangles, squares, okay? You could, if I say the word rectangle, you know what that looks like in your mind's eye. There may be some variety, but we kind of have a name for it. Now, organic shapes are a little bit harder to pinpoint. So, woo, I'm flying over here, okay? So, for example, down here in this corner, this shape right here, this doesn't really have a name. You could call it like a something like a leaf-like or a hooked thing, okay? But if you can't really put a name to it, it's more likely an organic shape. So leaves, shells, blobs, all right? Organic shapes tend to be more curved and they tend to be like free-flowing, okay? And because of that, we usually see organic shapes being used to represent nature. So leaves, think rivers, think waves, things like that, whereas more controlled or confined shapes are geometric, like squares, okay? So that's shape. We start with a square of paper, and then we fold it into a three-dimensional shape. Every time, go the wrong way. And let's put them right there. Okay, called a form. Whenever we are talking about something that has height, width, and depth, we are talking about forms, okay? You form something as a verb, but forms also are an object. They're three-dimensional. Now, there's a couple things that I want you guys to know about forms. So first off, forms can be both open and closed. So what I mean by that is if you make a form that's solid, like this vase right here, or this sculpture of a head, okay, there's no openings or holes poking through, so we call this a solid or closed form, okay? Imagine that all the holes are windows and all the blinds are closed. If you have a form that has holes or openings, see like right here, right in through there, up in here, that refers to those openings make the form itself an open form, also known as having negative space within. Now, forms that are more open appear to be lighter. Forms that are closed appear to be solid or dense, okay? Forms can also be geometric and organic, like we just talked about, okay? So, for example, even though this is a organic form because it's an octopus, there are geometric components of it. It's made out of rectangles, cubes, triangles, prisms, etc. Okay, so things can appear to be more geometric when they have harsher edges, whereas things that are more loopy and freeform, like this one, are considered to be organic forms. So I would call this an organic open form. Okay, let's look at some more. Okay, so for example, which one of these is a closed form? I want you on your notes now to say which one is a closed form, and then if you think that it's this one, write down 1, and if you think it's this one, write down 2, and then tell me why, briefly. Why is it a closed form? You good? I'm sorry for ceramics 2 kids. I know that we have talked about this before, but it's a review, okay? So it'll help it stick in your brain forever. Forever. Okay, so I hope that you picked this one as the closed form. Notice how there is no openings, you can't see through it, whereas this one is essentially all open space. Now, I want to talk briefly about visual weight. Now, okay, so imagine this one right here could be made out of styrofoam or something else like popcorn. I don't know, something that's really light. And this one right here could be made out of bronze or stone or something that's physically really heavy. This one could weigh 80 pounds and this one could weigh 5 pounds. However, visually, this one appears to be visually heavier because it's dense, it's solid, it's steady, it's stoic. There's lots of S words. Okay, it's a monolith. Whereas this one appears to be lighter and more open. We often see open forms as being dynamic, okay, and that you can kind of follow, your eye loops around it. We start here, wraps around, goes back up. It appears to have more visual movement. Now, I'm not talking about like actual movement. Nothing is like spinning or twirling, but in terms of how your eye moves around the artwork, this one has more visual movement. Visual weight, visual movement. Okay? One of these days, I'm going to go the right way. Okay, so underneath now, we're going to go through a couple of these. In the corner, it says 1. I want you to write down a 1. And then I want you to say, is it a shape, a form, is it organic, or is it geometric? I personally believe that this is an example of geometric shape, okay? Because what is the shape? Circles. We have lots of circles, okay? Is in general this relatively flat or is it relatively dense? Okay, can I physically walk around this thing and look at it from all sides? No, I can't walk around this thing and look at it from all sides. So it's relatively flat, all right? So it is a geometric shape. Okay, how about this one? Write down number 2. Shape, form, geometric, organic. Which 2 is it? If you wrote down organic shape, you are wrong. This is a geometric form, okay? So this is a ball. It's a sphere, which means that I can walk around it and see it from many sides. And the fact that it has a name, it is a sphere, means that it's geometric. All right, next one. I want you to actually write it down. I know I'm going to say it, but it's good practice for you to try to come up with it on your own. Is this a shape or form? Is it organic or geometric? This is an organic form, okay? It's not made out of only like trapezoids. It's an elephant, so it's more free-flowing around the body. And I can imagine walking around it and seeing it from all sides. So it's a form and it's organic. Last but not least, shape or form, organic or geometric? What's the name of this shape right here? I don't have a name for it. So that means that it's organic. Can I walk around it and see it from all sides? Mm-mm. So that means that it's shapes. So organic shape. Look at how cool this is. I'm thinking we might do something like this, like the little piece of papers. Okay. Anyway, keep going. All right. So, bum, bum, bum. I don't know where to go here. Here. So your assignment for this week is to create at least 3 different origami forms, okay, using the directions in the following slides. If you want to find your own tutorial and do something different from the slides that I provided, that's great. I want you to make something that you're actually excited about, but don't go jumping to like a level 10,000 difficulty, okay? Let's start simply and then progress as we develop confidence and skills, okay? I know it took me, I was practicing cranes, and it took me like 3 times before I finally felt good about my product, okay? The first couple times were a little wonky. So when I say create 3 origami forms, I don't want just your first try that was a little wonky. If you try one and then it doesn't come out that hot, try it again, okay? I bet you anything the second time will be a little smoother, it'll be a little cleaner, and you'll have a little bit more confidence, because art making is a skill like anything else. Just like if you play basketball and you are shooting hoops, how many times have you tried to shoot a hoop and missed? Okay, but the more you practice, the more reps you put in, the better you'll get. Okay, this applies to everything. Learning to play an instrument. Drawing is a skill. Paper folding is a skill. You have to practice. You don't just wake up one morning and become an expert because you decided you wanted to be. Okay? If you want to make up your own design, then by all means, go for it. So you're going to make at least 3 of the origami forms. I want you to take a picture of each form, and I want these pictures to be nice. So I'm going to ask you to create, if possible, a paper swoop. Okay, that means you take a piece of paper and you like lean it up against something and fold it like this so that you can put, this is going to be weird, your crane or whatever it is that you make on it, and then take a picture of it from the front. Nope. Come back. Paper swoops. See how the background is now blocked? I want you to get in close so you don't have a lot of stuff in the background. If you can't do this with a piece of paper, sometimes like a sheet works, or like a pillowcase, just kind of lay it down. All right. I want you to then upload these 3 pictures to the assignment in Google Classroom. I'm going to go over that in just a minute. Now, on Wednesday, you're going to have a Zoom meeting. And during these Zoom meetings, I'm going to talk a little bit about cranes and the significance of cranes, and then we're going to do an activity together. So if you would like to practice a crane before that time, that's fine. You do a crane for, this is what I mean by a crane. If you don't know, paper crane, it's a bird, okay? Feel free to do that for one of your forms, but if you also want to try other ones and wait to do the crane with us as a group, you can do that. So think about it. So if you go through this slideshow, which I'm also going to upload to the Google Classroom, I have put up a variety of generally easy forms. So there's a lot of options for you. So turtle, fox, shark, flower. That's actually 2 put together, but you could do 1 or you could do 2. Most of these only require 1 piece of paper. Some of them might require 2. I think they're all just 1. I think the dinosaur might require 2, just because it's a little bit more. But okay. And if you go, these are all YouTube videos. If you click on them, they'll bring you to more tutorials. So I don't want you to make 3 foxes. I want you to make a fox, a flower, and a dino. So 3 different forms, right? Now, ooh, hey, I'm out here now. Okay, so this isn't the way that your Google Classroom looks specifically. This is my test kitchen. Essentially, you should be watching this video underneath these directions. I also am going to put a link to that slideshow there so you can look at the tutorials. When you're done, I want you to add and create, 1, the picture of your notes, as well as the 3 pictures of your forms, okay? I want these to be completed by Wednesday when we have our meeting, okay? For ceramics 1, the meeting is at noon. For ceramics 2, the meeting is at 11. If anyone needs to go into the other class because of a time double booking or something, that's fine with me. I just didn't want to put us all together in one huge group, but we technically could be together in one huge group. We can maybe try that later on. Okay, so you're going to watch the video, take the notes, upload your pictures. Okay, and then don't forget also before that meeting that meeting on Wednesday, so you can either do it Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday morning. I want you to complete the Juno DL Ceramics Juno 1 in Jupiter grades. Okay? This is also all available. I'm going to pop up. Yeah. In your slideshow where I put in watch the video, make your forms. Okay, do the Juno, and then we have our meeting. Okay. Also, when you come to this meeting, come prepared with at least one sheet of 6x6 paper ready to go. Okay. So that's about this big. We talked about cutting paper down. If anyone is having a hard time cutting paper down, please email me and I can help you. Remember, I was struggling to make that tutorial, but if you can, the sheet, just use a ruler and measure it out. Or if you need to, use a dollar, because a dollar bill is 6 inches. All right. You will have one more assignment on Thursday, and that is to create at least 5 additional origami cranes or to challenge yourself to make a complex paper form. And that is our assignment for the week. I will be uploading another video about this assignment. Okay. But I don't want you to really start on that until we get through this stuff first. If you're cruising and loving origami and want to just go for it, then by all means, make more. But the bare minimum is going to be this. Okay? I hope you enjoy making your origami forms. Please email me if you have any questions, concerns, or want to share really exciting victories too. Highs and lows. I love them all. Okay? Happy